Welcome to the Empower for Change channel. I am Deborah Gilbert White, also known as Dr. B, your host. Here we celebrate and encourage people who are and who seek to make a difference. We do
Mhm.
this through our Conversations with series, which you have joined in today. We also provide weekly quotes available every Monday morning, lifting the voices of women of color that inspire, encourage, and affirm what we bring individually and collectively to our communities and the world. Be sure to subscribe to this channel to be notified when a new post has been made. Today, we welcome Dr. August Mebane, the leadership development expert and author. Hello, Dr. August. Welcome.
Hi, Dr. D. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm going to read a short bio that was sent to me so that we will know who is in the room with us. I'm just so excited to have you here. Dr. August Mebane is an HR executive, organizational leadership consultant, and author of the Little Leaders Children's Book Series, which focuses on confidence, character, and leadership for young children. She has over 15 years of executive experience leading human resources, talent strategy, and organizational transformation across healthcare, higher education, consulting, and the public sectors, where she has helped organizations grow, develop leaders, and improve workplace culture and performance. In addition to her professional work, she is a wife and mother of two and loves to travel and spend quality time with her family. Her books and leadership work are both driven by the same mission, helping people, both adults and children, grow into confident, capable leaders. Thank you and welcome again, Dr. Megan.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, let's get started. I believe that we met many moons ago. Okay. In community, we belong to the same church. And I remember at the time when we met that you were busy working on your doctorate and you were
Mhm.
doing all this organizational work that you are, so expert at. And then also, we kind of connected again when we were asked to connect with the people in the church around some leadership piece that we were working on together. And
Mhm.
so I just want to start with us like looking at and asking you what brought you to professional development to that work? Was there something specific that you saw in the workplace that you thought needed to be answered?
Oh, absolutely. I started my career doing IT actually,
Oh,
and transitioned into market research. And while I was working at that particular organization, I saw so many injustices happening around me. And at the time, I didn't know a whole lot about human resources.
hmm
Started doing some research. And when I left that organization, I wanted to know more about human resources, more about leadership. And that's how I got into the field and started from a recruiter at AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals and worked my way up to a chief human resources officer in different industries. And going into the different organizations, I always see one theme, right? There's always some type of change, some type of transition, something going on within the culture and organization and leadership that needs some assistance in pushing the organization forward to their next level of excellence. And I found that I was just really good at it. I loved it. I
important.
didn't. I didn't follow it. It followed me no matter where I go. And so that's how I really got into the work. I love to see organizations flourish. I love to see leadership just develop and mature in what they're trying to bring to an organization.
And it's such important work, especially in the times that we're in now, where oftentimes organizations are struggling trying to be resourceful to who they are serving, but also to their staff and people who are on their board and all the people that are connected to them. So it's really important work.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what have you found most challenging about it?
So I've done this work in-house as an employee, and I've also done it as a consultant.
Hmm.
It is more difficult to do as an employee in-house because of I'll say the politics that comes with change and development and organizational design that may not always benefit people at the table.
Mm.
And so I like doing the consulting piece a little bit more just because you can go in, do your assessments, really put a plan in place, help people see what needs to change and help them drive that change. And I say do the mic drop, right? It's kind of up to them if they continue to move forward or
Right.
decide that they're comfortable where they are. And so that's one of the biggest challenges I would say for people who are in-house, having to still work there and navigate the landscape of that change.
Hmm.
I've worked in positions where I was like, okay, my own position could be at stake here, right? And
Yeah.
that's why I always say I work as unto the Lord, as the Bible tells us to, because
Yeah.
if I worked as it would benefit me, I probably would have made some different decisions and choices in organizations that may not have been
Hmm.
totally in line with where they were going. So I love that consulting piece because
Yeah.
it's easier. It's easier. You have no stake in the game. You don't have to see the person, every day. You don't have a direct boss that you work for consistently that you're trying to make sure they're okay with your decisions. It really is. I'm a truth teller, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you what you need to know to get you where you want to go. And most of the time when people are paying for a consultant, they're ready.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
ready.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you mentioned being a truth teller. That's something in the work that I do as well, helping people to understand, that there is a need to be a truth teller and also to respond with accountability and to bring people together around so many important issues, in the community and also in the workplace. In that work, what brings you the most joy?
That's right.
Yeah. And what brings you the most joy?
Bringing me the most joy. I enjoy most of what I do. I'll say my personal life brings me the most joy. Being a wife, being a mom, that is a different phase of life for me.
Hmm.
But second to that is really the consulting piece, working with leaders and executive coaching and consulting with organizations that are trying to really go to that next level of excellence and shape their culture,
Hmm.
shape their people function, and really have a desire to do what is right for their employees and coming in and showing them how to get to that end result.
Yeah, I love that. I know that right now we hear people talking about, creating that sense of belonging in organizations for people. Oftentimes it's not felt. I often think about one of the places that I worked many, many, many moons ago, where Friday came too soon and Monday wasn't soon enough. I
Mm.
just loved being in that environment. It was so supportive, and I'm glad that I had that experience in my lifetime. I have not had it since then, but I always know that it can exist because I experienced it. So thank you for the work that you are doing to create that for others. In your role as a mom and children's book author, tell us about Pages of Purpose and your publications, Autumn's Book of Powerful Words and Kingston's New School.
Yeah. And I apologize, Dr. D, if I'm interrupting you. I can't tell because I kind of got a lag on my end. So I can't tell when you're talking or when you're actually done.
It's all right because I'm having the same things, probably some internet stuff going on here, but we're gonna get
Okay.
through it. I'm having the same experience.
Okay. So Autumn's Book of Powerful Words and Kingston's New School was birthed out of my relationship with my kids, and this being my first rodeo as a mom of a little boy and a little girl,
Yeah.
and some of the conversations we've had and some of the situations they've had, even at 5 and 7, right, and even younger than that, at just having conversations about being a leader, not a follower, what kind of friend do you want to be, telling the truth, about integrity. And so that birthed the Little Leader series, which includes those two books. And I do have copies here. So this is Autumn's Book of Powerful Words. And this is the other book in the series,
Yeah,
Kingston's New School.
yeah.
And those books really have some really great life lessons because they really focus on helping young children to develop their self esteem, their confidence, and courage and character, and most of all, helping them to develop those leadership skills at a young
Mhm.
age.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see that you're doing this. How have Autumn and Kingston reacted to seeing themselves as characters in a book?
Oh, they love it. So we always read together as a family. And they love reading, they enjoy it. At the same time, it was more of a challenge to find that representation of kids that look like them. So Kingston wears glasses. That was a whole phase with other kids. Autumn will rock her Afro puffs, on her head.
I love I love it.
So, just having some of those conversations that are unique to my kids and to kids that look like them, it brings them such joy. But I've also had the privilege of going to their schools to read their book to other students, uh,
Wonderful.
and and they just light up and they're so proud and they're like, this is my book. And their biggest question is, how much money have we made, right? Um,
They're business people. They're
They
business.
are business people, right? I'm like, money. So yeah, that was the question, and I was very tickled, but I was also very excited to see that they're looking at, oh, is it on Amazon? Where else is it sold?
Mm-hmm.
And someone bought this book, and did anybody say they liked it? And it just lights me up because it motivates me to keep going with this series because there are some really valuable lessons in the books.
Yes, yes. What is key to being a leader that you want children to embrace?
You said the key.
Yeah, yeah. What is key in being a leader that you want children to embrace?
Yeah. So your words matter. Your words are powerful. What you say and believe about yourself will
Mhm.
come to pass, right? And it manifests in your life. And I want kids to know it starts at a young age, how you present yourself to others and how you allow people to treat you. It starts at a very young age and it goes into adulthood. And
Mhm.
because of the work that I've done as a consultant, as an HR executive, as a strategic advisor, I see the adults that didn't have someone who was pushing them to speak positivity, to have those affirmations, to have positive self talk.
Mhm.
You see it in adults; it's
Yeah.
amazing. And honestly, before my focus was adults, but then I realized after having children, like it starts now. It really
Mhm.
starts now, and each child needs multiple cheerleaders, that village that we talk about so much,
Mhm.
to speak into them, to pour into them, to be great examples for them, but also let them know that they are too examples for others, that they too can speak positive words to themselves, to their siblings, to their family, to their friends. And it's important because those words take root and they grow. And
Mhm.
that's why I wrote these books where they are great to be read at home. They're great in the classroom, and they're also a resource for counselors that may be having conversations with children that may be struggling with extreme shyness or a new beginning, like Kingston started a new
Mhm.
school. And it's okay to have those feelings of being nervous, have experiences with people who are unkind. But what really matters is how do you handle them in that moment?
Yes, yes. I was thinking about the power of words and Autumn's powerful words. How did you get to that with her? Was there something that happened that you said, I need to write something, I need to do something about this in a way that would help children?
Yeah, with Autumn, she was very shy. Kingston's the total opposite. when it comes to talking to people. He's very outgoing. Autumn's very shy, and just being in daycare, being in pre-K, barely said a word, and then kind of warmed up a tiny, teeny bit at the end. So this year she's actually in pre-K because she has a late birthday. And I've just watched her blossom because, if someone's touching her hair or if someone's doing something that's making her uncomfortable, she was very quiet and reserved and wouldn't say anything. So
Mm-hmm.
having those conversations where thankfully she felt safe enough to talk to her parents and her
Yeah.
sibling about it. And so we encourage both of them, hey, you're allowed to say no. You're allowed to say, I don't like that. I don't want you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so really empowering her to know that she has a voice.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that, I'm not saying she's screaming from the rooftop, but she is definitely more vocal.
Mm-hmm.
uh she has gotten down her little side eye when she doesn't like something. So I see her personality just starting to really flourish.
Mm-hmm.
And it really came out of love because I wanted her to see herself in a book. I wanted her to feel really good about having a voice and knowing how to use it and when to use it.
Oh my gosh, I mean, I'm just sitting here, just very excited because I think about myself as a child, and you probably think about yourself as a child, where oftentimes in many homes, children are not allowed to speak up or to share what their thoughts are. And I see like the sea change happening or has happened where she feels empowered to say what she needs to say, and she feels that you are listening, and to put all of this into a book for her and all the other little girls. It's just marvelous,
You
marvelous.
make such a good point, Dr. D, where we grew up in generations where children speak when spoken to. And it wasn't, where it was that they didn't want you to have a voice, but it was considered disrespect, right? This generation is totally different, where they know they have a voice, they use their voice. And because I am what I consider an old school parent, it is important to me to share with my children and other children, yes, you have a voice, and it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes.
And we need to know what exactly is going on in our kids' heads, whether it's with a teacher, whether it's with friends, whether it's with our parenting styles. Have a voice, do it in a respectful way because your emotions, your thoughts, they matter.
Hmm.
And a lot of kids will hold things in when they really do have a voice, but no one's really encouraging them to use it.
Yeah, and I'm also thinking about Kingston now, being afraid or having some sort of level of fear, entering this new school, and how often little boys are taught not to have emotion, and
Mm.
and for him to be able to share that with you, and for you to be able to see it and put that in a book. Was there anything particular about the school that he was fearful of? Was it just that it was a new school? Was it a new neighborhood, or was he getting on a bus for the first time?
Yeah, this year has been very different for Kingston. So he's in second grade this year.
Okay.
Kindergarten and first grade, he was very excited to go to school. And then we decided that school wasn't necessarily a great fit. And so we decided to move him to another school.
Hmm.
And he was just very nervous. He started talking about it like at the end of the school year because we didn't want it to come as a surprise. We're just like, oh, we have a new school. It's going to be really great. It's going to help you nurture your entrepreneurial spirit, which really is in alignment with what they love, right? Business, making money, all that good stuff. And so he just was really nervous, and I thought it would just, first day jitters and it would pass. But the more he talked about it, the more I realized it really was impacting him. And so I wrote this book for him so that, he could read it before going. We read it every single day, probably the last 2 weeks prior to him starting school. We read it before he went to bed because I wanted him to go to sleep. And the key theme of Kingston's new school is that it's okay to be nervous. You just try your best.
Yeah.
And you make choices in a manner that is in alignment with what you want to do. So he was in the book nervous to make friends. All of these are real uh, things that my children have dealt with, making new friends. He made his core group of friends at his old school, and none of them were going to be there the next year. And so that really, at 7 years old, that was a lot for
Mhm.
him. And it took a couple of months into the school year for him to really start to acclimate,
Mhm.
because he needed to feel safe. He needed to feel like he was going to make great friends. And had I just shut him down, like, well, you're going to school, it doesn't matter. You're not there to make friends. I don't know how that would have impacted him mentally.
Right.
But because my husband and I were very just supportive of him sharing his thoughts and his feelings, we prayed in the morning, we prayed at night, we spoke positive things, because he would say, I'm not going to make any friends. I'm not this, I'm not that. And
Oh,
that's another reason why I wrote, Autumn's book of powerful words. It's not just for girls. I mean, Kingston makes his debut in the book as well.
oh, great.
But it's really about because he was saying he was going to have a bad day and not make friends. He kind of isolated himself because that's what he was believing on those days.
Mhm.
So we had conversations, on the drive to school. Hey, I need you to speak. So what are you going to speak into existence for this day? And he was like, I'm gonna have a good day. I'm going to make at least one friend today. And he didn't even realize it was empowering himself, because he would open up a little more and play with someone that day. So that both books just really teach those lessons that are age appropriate
Mhm.
for up to 8-year olds, and it really just helps them understand I do have power over how my life is shaped even at this age, and that's a powerful tool to take into adulthood.
I'm just amazed because, what you're sharing, yes, I can see it, how it relates to children and their growth. But I'm just thinking about the many adults that I come across. As you said, you started as an adult, looking at this for adults, and how many have low self-esteem. Particularly people have gone through rocky points in their life, and they come out of
Hmm.
those situations not feeling, power. They feel powerless in the situation and coming out of it. And so, are you thinking about in some way, in some capacity, doing some type of companion book connected to your series for adults?
Oh, for adults, I do have a couple of books I'm working on for adults, um, because our words and our actions really do shape how we are as a leader, how we are as a mom, as a dad, as an aunt, an uncle, a friend.
Hmm.
People are like, oh, I'm one way at work, I'm one way at home, but those traits show up wherever you go. And it doesn't matter how big of a mask you put on, your true inner self from childhood is going to show up. And I can give a great example.
Hmm.
Working at one of the positions I had as a chief HR officer, I reported to a gentleman who would get, I would say, very passionate about what he wanted to say, and he would yell. Right, he would yell. That little girl in me, oh Lord,
Hmm.
seriously, Dr. D, that little girl in me was like shaking, like, why is this man yelling in this
Hmm.
meeting, right? And I'm like, hold it together. And that's when I realized some childhood trauma had me as a, very grown woman sitting in a conference room at an executive table inside, like, please stop yelling, right? And had to have a conversation about professionalism, because I
Yes.
was like, I will not cower away. I will find my voice and I will find my courage to speak up, to say I'm not exactly comfortable with meetings where we're yelling as adults. I
Yes.
would like to just have professional conversations. And it wasn't that he was necessarily yelling at me in that moment, but that's the trigger where I was like, now wait a minute,
Yeah.
little August is coming through here. What's happening?
Lord, I tell you. Yeah, they talk about, in my field is psychology, you talk about the inner child, and so, the inner little girl, as you said, coming through, and then also what was triggered in him also, as the little boy in him, for him to act in the behavior to show that in his engagement with you. I I think that I would like to ask you a question about your process and sharing your book with other people. I know that you're on Amazon, and we're going to share that information with people, once we make this live. But are you going to schools, or are you having book clubs? Look at the book, or how are you getting the message out about
Yeah.
these two amazing books?
So I do a lot of social media. I also use connections, so teachers, administrators.
Mhm.
I've gone to different schools to read to the children and have conversations after reading the book. Just, the
Mhm.
beginning of the school year, I went to a few schools to read Kingston's new school, to some of those schools that had just opened or had a new had kindergartners coming in that were nervous. And so parents are a huge supporter of my book because it opens up dialogue to have with their children.
Mhm.
But that's really how I'm spreading word of mouth. The book will also eventually be available on other platforms at Barnes and Noble, not just Amazon. So I'm just waiting for it to get the final approval and drop there. But really, word of mouth, going on platforms like yours to have conversation about the series, and really just encouraging people to purchase the book. And the book has made it all the way to Jamaica, so I'm very excited about that. And people are saying that they are enjoying the series.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that as well. I'm wondering, what are you thinking about for your next children's book? I'm kind of like thinking ahead. I know you're working on the perfection.
Yeah.
I know you got another one in you.
I look, I do. In the series, I want to really talk about courage. I want to talk about telling the truth, making good choices. We always tell our children, we tell ourselves, be a leader, not a follower. So,
Yeah.
explicitly about being a leader, explicitly about telling the truth, even when it's hard. So those are some of the topics that I'm looking at next for the series. I
Mhm.
think it would be a good segue from Kingston's New School and Autumn's Book of Powerful Words.
Yeah, I noticed in one of your statements is that you said every child needs confidence, every child needs courage, every child needs to believe in themselves, and that is key. That is key, and I think you're doing that with your series from the two books that you have already out there in the world, and the ones that you will be putting forth in the future. I'd like to end by asking, is there any question I did not ask that you would like to answer?
Uh, Let me think. I guess I'll just end by saying that our words shape how we think, and how we think really shape who we become.
Hmm.
And these two books really solidify that for young readers. And everybody go get the book. Autumn's Book of Powerful Words really has a call and response to it, where it's not just the child reading or someone reading to the child, but it engages them in the story and have them say, I am brave, I am kind, I can do hard things. So go out, get the book, and it's an exciting time for young readers, because the world we live in, they need to have this confidence and these power of words, and utilize them every single day for everything in their life, because there is power in the tongue. And so we're teaching them that at a young age.
Yes, and you're so right. It is a different world. It is a different world. I want to thank you, Dr. August, for spending time with us today. We will share your contact information, also links to your book, for people to be able to obtain it. I want to say to our audience that remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. This way you will be informed and notified every time we post. and also be able to keep up with us on Mondays when we put up our positive quotes, lifting women of color who are doing some amazing things and encouraging and inspiring words. So thank you so much. Thank you for being with us, Dr. August.
Thank you, Dr. D. I enjoyed the conversation.
You're welcome.